The silence of the jungle planet was broken by the groaning whine of a crash-landing spaceship. Inside the cockpit, Dave swatted at the flashing red lights and muttered, "Of course. Out of all the planets in the galaxy, I get stuck on the one with oversized houseplants and zero Wi-Fi." The ship shuddered to a halt, its hull scraping against jagged rocks. Dave tumbled out, brushing debris off his jumpsuit. His boots sank slightly into the spongy moss covering the ground, releasing a faint, sugary scent. "Well," he grumbled, "at least it doesn't smell like death." A vine curled around his ankle, and he yelped, yanking himself free. The vine recoiled, almost offended. "Great. Even the plants have an attitude problem." He trekked cautiously through the dense foliage, every rustle and chirp making him jump. Towering trees with luminous leaves cast a surreal glow, and strange flowers opened and closed rhythmically, almost like breathing. As he tried to navigate the maze-like jungle, a peculiar feeling nagged at him. He wasn't alone. A low hum reverberated through the air. Dave froze, turning slowly to find himself face to face, or rather, face to thigh, with a colossal figure. He craned his neck upward. The woman standing before him was easily 3 times his height, her golden hair cascading down her back like a waterfall. Her features were strikingly symmetrical, her emerald eyes locked onto him with an intensity that made his stomach churn. She gasped, dropping a spear she'd been holding. "The Diamond One!" she exclaimed, her voice resonating like a melodic gong. Before Dave could respond, more giant women emerged from the jungle, each as statuesque as the first. They surrounded him, their expressions ranging from awe to outright reverence. One knelt down, her movements careful and deliberate, as if approaching a fragile artifact. "It's true," she murmured. "The prophecy was real." Dave raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. "Whoa, hold on. I think there's been a mistake. I'm just a guy with a broken ship. No diamonds here, I promise." His words only seemed to amplify their excitement. The tallest of the group stepped forward, her deep blue robe billowing behind her. She introduced herself as Mara, the leader of the tribe. "You are the Diamond One," she declared solemnly. "The Savior foretold in our sacred texts. Your arrival signals the renewal of life." "Renewal of life?" Dave repeated, backing away slightly. "That sounds important. And not my department." Mara ignored his protest, gesturing to the others. They formed a circle around him, chanting in a language that sounded like a mix of humming and laughter. One woman, misunderstanding his nervous glance at their spears, assured him, "Fear not, Diamond One. We would never harm you. You are a gift from the heavens." Dave's mind raced. How had he gone from unlucky space janitor to intergalactic messiah in under 10 minutes? He tried to explain, but every word seemed to reinforce their belief. When he muttered, "This is nuts," they paused, then erupted in cheers, interpreting his frustration as a divine proclamation. "The Diamond One speaks in riddles," Mara said, her voice filled with awe. "He challenges us to reflect on the chaos of our existence." Dave groaned, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Okay, listen. I really need to fix my ship and get out of here. Do you have tools? Or a mechanic? Or, I don't know, a galactic Uber?" His words were met with puzzled looks. Mara tilted her head. "The Diamond One seeks to test our resourcefulness. We must prove ourselves worthy." No, that's not what I..." Before he could finish, Mara clapped her hands. The women sprang into action, carrying him back to their village. Dave's protests went unheard as they hoisted him onto a makeshift throne crafted from woven vines and vibrant flowers. As they paraded him through the village, Dave noticed the architecture, massive huts carved from tree trunks, with intricate patterns etched into their surfaces. The ground shimmered with bioluminescent moss, illuminating the area in a soft, ethereal glow. They set him down in the center of the village, where a grand feast was already being prepared. Giant cauldrons bubbled with alien stews, and platters of unfamiliar fruits were piled high. The aroma was surprisingly pleasant, though Dave wasn't sure if his stomach could handle whatever it was they were cooking. Mara knelt before him, her expression earnest. You must be hungry, Diamond One. Accept our humble offerings. Dave hesitated, eyeing a bowl of wriggling, gelatinous orbs. I'm good, thanks. Not really a fan of food that moves. His refusal was met with murmurs of admiration. One woman whispered, He fasts to purify his body. Truly, he is divine. Dave sighed. You've got to be kidding me. Another woman approached, holding a delicate flower with petals that glowed faintly. She offered it to him, saying, Bless us with your touch, O Diamond One. Not wanting to offend them further, Dave gingerly took the flower. The crowd gasped, and some even shed tears. He has accepted our tribute, Mara announced, her voice trembling with emotion. Dave was about to correct her when he noticed something peculiar. The flower emitted a soft hum that resonated in his palm, sending a pleasant warmth up his arm. For a brief moment, he felt a strange connection to the planet itself, as if the jungle were alive and aware of him. He quickly shook off the sensation, reminding himself that he needed to focus on escaping. But how could he do that when every step he took seemed to cement his status as their godlike savior? Dave sat on the massive vine throne, fidgeting as the tribe's women circled him in rhythmic dance. Their chants blended into a hypnotic hum, but all he could think about was how to escape this surreal situation. His gaze darted toward the jungle edge, but every path seemed blocked by the towering women who had no intention of letting him leave. Mara stepped forward, raising her arms to silence the chants. Diamond One, we must honor the ancient right to ensure the prosperity of our people. You are the key to our survival. Dave blinked. Wait, what do you mean, survival? Are you in danger? The women exchanged puzzled glances. Mara hesitated before answering. Not danger, exactly. But our people are incomplete. You are the missing piece. Incomplete? Dave repeated, his stomach sinking. He had a bad feeling about where this was going. Mara's expression softened, and she knelt before him. Long ago, our ancestors were guided by celestial beings like you. They bestowed upon us the gift of wisdom, strength, and beauty, but they departed before completing the cycle of life. For generations, we have awaited the return of a celestial one to restore balance. The realization hit Dave like a meteor. They didn't just think he was a god, they thought he was some kind of fertility savior. Oh no, he muttered, holding up his hands. No. That's not happening. I'm not here to restore anything. Mara seemed unfazed by his protests. Your modesty is expected. The Diamond One does not boast of his purpose. But the time has come for you to fulfill your destiny. Destiny? Lady, I'm just a guy trying to fix his ship. Dave's voice cracked, but the women seemed more enchanted than ever by his outburst. The Diamond One tests our faith with his humility. One of them whispered reverently. Dave buried his face in his hands. I'm doomed. The women began to prepare what looked like an elaborate ritual. Massive drums were dragged into the clearing, and vibrant streamers made from woven leaves and flowers were hung between the colossal trees. A group of women approached Dave with a large robe made of shimmering fabric that sparkled like the night sky. You will wear this during the ceremony, Mara said, presenting the robe as if it were the crown jewels. Dave recoiled. Look, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't do ceremonies. Can't we just skip to the part where you help me fix my ship? Mara's brow furrowed in confusion. Fix your ship? Is that another divine riddle? No, it's not a riddle, Dave snapped. It's a request. I just need tools or parts or… Before he could finish, one of the women gasped and pointed at his wrist. What is that sacred device? She asked, her voice filled with wonder. Dave looked down at his smartwatch. This? It's just a watch. The women murmured amongst themselves, clearly awestruck. Mara leaned in, her expression serious. This watch, does it hold the secrets of time? Dave hesitated, sensing that any explanation he gave would likely be misinterpreted. Sure. Something like that. The women erupted in cheers, and Mara clasped her hands together. He carries the power of time itself. Truly, we are blessed. Dave groaned inwardly. Yeah, great. Can the power of time get me out of here? Mara smiled serenely. Patience, Diamond 1. All will be revealed in the ceremony. As the preparations continued, Dave tried to come up with an escape plan. Every attempt to reason with them only seemed to deepen their conviction that he was some kind of divine savior. He considered sneaking away during the commotion, but the village was crawling with watchful eyes. One of the younger women approached him, holding a small crystal that glowed faintly. Diamond 1, she said shyly. Will you bless my stone? Dave forced a smile, taking the crystal. Sure. Blessings all around. He waved it in the air before handing it back. The girl's face lit up, and she ran off, clutching the crystal like a treasure. He sighed. At least they're easy to please. But his temporary relief vanished when Mara announced, The time has come. The ceremony begins. The women gathered in a massive circle, their chants growing louder and more intense. Dave was ushered to the center, the shimmering robe draped over his shoulders despite his protests. Diamond 1, Mara intoned. We offer ourselves to your wisdom and power. Guide us, and we shall follow. Dave gulped, his mind racing. He had to think of something, anything, to stall. Okay. Let's start with a question. What exactly do you think I can do for you? Mara tilted her head, her expression sincere. You can restore life to our people. You can unite us with the celestial energies that will ensure our future. Dave's face burned. Yeah, I'm not qualified for that. Have you tried, I don't know, expanding your social circle? Maybe calling a galactic dating service? The women looked at him, puzzled. Mara frowned slightly. We do not understand your methods, Diamond 1, but we trust your judgment. If you require time to prepare, we will wait. Dave exhaled in relief. Yes. Time. Lots of time. I need to meditate. Alone. The women nodded solemnly, stepping back to give him space. Dave used the opportunity to edge closer to the jungle, his heart pounding. If he could just make it to the ship, maybe he could rig something to send a distress signal. But as he took another step, a loud cheer erupted behind him. He turned to see the women bowing, their faces alight with joy. He moves with purpose, Mara declared. The Diamond 1 has begun the sacred journey. Dave groaned. This is going to be a long day. Dave's frustration reached new heights as he was ceremoniously lifted by 4 women, their hands gently cradling his limbs as they carried him across the village. He had tried to escape again, but the women had anticipated his every move, blocking every exit and ushering him back into the center of their camp. His mind raced, trying to figure out how he could leverage the situation. He could see no way out. There was no way he could talk his way out of this, no way to convince them that he wasn't some divine being sent to save their people. You must be tired, Diamond 1, Mara said, her voice dripping with reverence. It is only fitting that we offer you comfort. Dave opened his mouth to protest, but then the reality of his situation hit him like a ton of bricks. He couldn't just keep running forever. These women were stronger, more persistent, and the moment he tried to leave, they'd just capture him again. The only option left was to play along. At least, that's what he hoped. I'm fine, he muttered, though his mind screamed otherwise. I'm just overwhelmed. Yeah, that's it. Overwhelmed. Mara smiled warmly. It is understandable. The weight of your responsibilities is great. You have come to us in our time of need. We honor you. Dave sighed inwardly, trying his best not to roll his eyes. At this point, he was just looking for some sort of way to communicate that he was not, in fact, a divine being. But it was clear that nothing he said would dissuade them. Still, he had to try. I'm not here to save anyone. I don't even know how I ended up here, he blurted. Mara's eyes widened. You speak in riddles. Only the Diamond 1 can carry such burdens. She placed her hand over her heart. Fear not. We will help you on your journey. Yeah, can we start by talking about my ship? That's all I need, just a way to get back to my ship. I've got stuff to do back there. The women paused. It was as though they had never heard anything like it before. Their expressions shifted, a mixture of confusion and wonder in their eyes. But Diamond won. Another woman spoke up, her voice sweet but firm. Your ship has already landed. It is here. It was the will of the heavens. Dave blinked. Wait, what? My ship is here? Where? In the sacred grove, the woman said, gesturing grandly. It has been placed there for you, as a gift. A strange mix of hope and dread washed over Dave. On one hand, the idea of getting back to his ship was a beacon of light in the endless haze of confusion. On the other hand, the fact that they had moved it to some sacred grove meant it was likely surrounded by even more absurd rituals and worship. Still, he had no choice. All right, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Take me there. The procession continued as they made their way through the jungle. The women moved like an army of well-practiced dancers, chanting in unison as they led him toward the grove. Dave tried to make sense of his surroundings, but it was impossible to keep track of where they were going. The jungle was dense, the trees towering above him like an impenetrable wall. They passed glowing flowers, twisting vines, and strange glowing creatures he couldn't quite identify. The air smelled sweet but heavy, and Dave's mind raced, torn between disbelief and the wild hope that he might actually find a way out of this mess. The journey felt like it took hours, though it was probably much shorter. Eventually, they arrived at a clearing. In the center of it stood a structure unlike anything Dave had ever seen. The ship, though it looked like his, was surrounded by enormous pillars made from an unknown material, adorned with what appeared to be intricate carvings. The entire setup looked like some sort of temple, and Dave's stomach dropped at the thought. This is it, Mara said with awe in her voice, her eyes gleaming. Your ship, blessed by the celestial beings, rests here, waiting for you. Dave swallowed hard. I don't think this is my ship. It's too decorated. Mara frowned, looking over her shoulder. But the markings. The symbols match those on your arm, Diamond 1. Dave looked down at his arm, where the glowing tattoos that the women had placed on him earlier still shimmered faintly. Yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean it's my ship. Can we just check inside? He said, his voice tight with urgency. Mara nodded and signaled for the others to step back. Slowly, they parted, making a wide path toward the ship's entrance. Dave hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. The ship's hatch opened as if on cue, and he stepped inside. The interior was almost exactly as he remembered it, cluttered with tools, spare parts, and broken equipment, all of which seemed so mundane compared to the insane jungle rituals he'd just endured. This is not my ship, he muttered to himself. There's no way. He walked deeper into the craft, trying to figure out what to do next. His ship was damaged, sure, but it wasn't beyond repair. The problem, however, was that he had no idea how to fix it with the tools available, especially in this bizarre situation. Suddenly, a thought occurred to him. He might not know how to fix the ship himself, but maybe he could use the women's obsession with him to get some help. There had to be something they could do, right? Turning around, he headed back toward the entrance, only to find the women watching him intently from the doorway. Their faces were full of awe and anticipation, and Dave felt the weight of their gaze like 1,000 tons. You've done it, Diamond 1, Mara said, her voice filled with reverence. You have opened the sacred ship. You have proven your power. Dave was about to protest, but the words stuck in his throat. Maybe he could work with this, at least for now. If he played along just a little longer, maybe he could finally get them to help him. I have, he said, trying to sound more confident. Now, let's talk about how we fix it. Dave stood there, surrounded by the women of the tribe, all gazing at him as if he were some kind of cosmic savior. Despite his frustration, a small part of him felt a strange sense of power, almost like he was playing a role he never auditioned for but was somehow nailing. His mind was spinning with a million thoughts, none of which made sense. But the one thing he knew for sure was that he needed their help to fix the ship and get off this godforsaken planet. So, Dave said, trying to keep his voice calm and authoritative. You all know a lot about this place, right? About how things work here. The women nodded, their expressions still filled with admiration. Then you know where to find the parts one need to repair my ship, he continued, putting on his best I'm the guy you need to listen to tone. Mara, the leader of the tribe, stepped forward. Diamond One, you are wise beyond measure, she said with such fervor that Dave almost believed her. The parts you seek are scattered across the sacred land. Only those with the blessing of the gods can retrieve them. Dave could feel a headache coming on. Yeah, well, I don't need the blessing of the gods. I need tools. Wrenches, wires, whatever you've got lying around. Mara placed a hand over her heart. The gods have provided, and we will honor you with the materials. You must only ask Diamond One. There it was again. The Diamond One title. He wanted to scream, but he refrained, trying to remain composed. Right, he muttered. Great. Let's get to work then. One of the women stepped forward, her face glowing with excitement. Diamond One, we will fetch what you need. The sacred tools are hidden deep within the forest, but with your guidance, we shall retrieve them. Fine, fine. Just make sure they're actual tools and not some ceremonial, whatever, Dave said, rubbing his temples. This was insane. It was like he was stuck in some bizarre reality where his every word was treated as gospel. As the women dispersed to gather the sacred tools, Dave took a deep breath and tried to clear his mind. He had no idea how much time he had before these women decided to drag him into another one of their ridiculous rituals. The thought of spending any more time on this planet was unbearable, but at least he could use their reverence to his advantage. If he played it right, he could get them to help him fix the ship, then slip away in the middle of the night when they weren't looking. His plan was simple: gather the parts, fix the ship, and leave. The only problem was how far these women were willing to go to please him. The deeper he got into this charade, the more absurd the situation became. At some point, he'd have to put his foot down, but for now, he was stuck playing the role of their divine savior. As he paced back and forth, trying to make sense of his situation, one of the women returned with a bundle of strange items. Diamond One, we bring the sacred tools, she said, her voice filled with awe as she presented them to him. Dave took the items with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. They didn't look like tools. Instead, they resembled ornate, jewel-encrusted objects that could have belonged in some ancient temple. He frowned. These are not tools. You know that, right? The woman beamed at him. These are the gifts of the gods. Only you, Diamond One, are worthy of using them. Dave didn't even know how to respond to that. Look, I'm just a guy who's trying to get out of here. I don't need jewelry or whatever this is. I need practical stuff. Another woman, her expression thoughtful, stepped forward. But Diamond One, the tools are sacred. They will lead you to the power you need. This was getting out of hand. Dave felt his patience thinning. I don't care about sacred tools. I need something I can actually use to repair my ship. The women stared at him in stunned silence. For a moment, he thought they might just turn around and leave him to deal with his own mess. But Mara, who had been silent up until this point, stepped forward with a gentle smile. Diamond One, she said, her voice soft but unwavering. The tools you seek are not ordinary. They will only reveal their true power to those who are pure of heart. Pure of heart? Dave asked, raising an eyebrow. I'm just trying to get off this rock, lady. Mara's smile didn't waver. That is the first step, Diamond One. You must show us your heart. Show us the way forward, and we will provide all that you need. It was at that moment that Dave realized he had no other choice but to play along, at least for now. The women weren't going to let him leave until he had completed some ridiculous task or proven his worth in some nonsensical way. He was stuck. But if he played their game, maybe, just maybe, he could get what he needed. All right, he said, trying to sound confident. I'll show you the way. But you need to understand that I'm not some god. I'm just a guy from Earth, and I need your help to fix my ship. The women nodded eagerly, their faces filled with admiration. Good. Dave said, a plan starting to form in his mind. Let's start by finding some actual tools. We'll go on a little scavenger hunt. But this time, no more ceremonial nonsense. We need the real deal. As the women began to gather once again, Dave felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe he could turn this around. Maybe he could get them to help him with the repairs and finally escape the planet. But as the women chanted in unison, their voices rising in reverence, Dave couldn't help but wonder just how much longer he would be able to play this game before he cracked under the absurdity of it all.